Well, the interesting thing is, I saw this and I immediately went, I have been preaching for this for years because my thought process has always been steps, right? Technician steps. 4 steps is 5 seconds for a technician. So every 4 steps you can save 5 seconds. And over a period of a year, you save about 500 steps a day, it's $500. Doesn't seem like a lot of money, but when you have 20 technicians, that's $10,000.
Well, and it's beyond just the steps. When's the last time somebody went from their bag straight to parts? Their parts are ready. You picked up your parts, you said good morning, and you left.
Almost never.
Because the parts guys are on the phone.
Yeah.
There's 3 other techs waiting for their parts. Now you have a fantasy football conversation. You know, hey, what did you do last night? Hey, where are you going out this weekend?
Yeah.
That turns into a 20-minute conversation. You're turning 4 or 5 cars a day. If that journey takes 15 minutes, even on 4 cars, that's an extra hour they're turning wrenches.
Correct.
So the dealership sees the benefit because obviously they're getting an extra hour of productivity out of each of their techs. But the tech also sees an extra hour a day in his paycheck.
So there's 2 things there to take into account. Like, kind of, we're looking at there's obviously a lack of process because no tech should ever spend 15 minutes at the part counter without having parts there. They need to walk away. That's bad processes. But to be able to give a solution to the technician and to the parts and to service people, that means that you skip that human element. The job is done by parts. The parts go on the robot, and when it's ready and it's set, it goes to the technician. So now the technician no longer has that opportunity to have that 15-minute fantasy football conversation, right? So to that point, what is the next step? Is there something that you're doing differently for technicians, service managers? Is there a way for them to track and understand how to work it better? Let some of my audience understand how the tool works maybe a little bit better.
Of course, the easiest way is to actually show you how simple it is.
Okay.
We have a program right now for the hall.
Yeah.
So if you're a parts guy, parts, put it on. We'll get
Oh, nice. Okay. Yeah, we can go on.
left,
We can purchase it.
start. That's it.
And it's going to stop because there's people in front, right?
Correct.
It's going
to find its way through.
Give me the first.
Now I'm turning it off. Now, so what it would do is run right down. They'll hit one button that says items complete.
Yep.
And pick it up. Now the other big advantage to the robot, and this is especially for your senior techs, you know, the kid that's 18, let's be honest, I came from the automotive industry. 26 years ago, I didn't mind carrying a battery or several hundred pounds worth of, you know, brakes and rotors, especially when you get into like 2500 and 3500s. And with all the battery recalls and all the cores now, they can call for the robot and throw that core on. And a lot of times you have places that are 1 for 1. I mean, that's just how the dealerships work. They want their core back before they give it to their tech. So it simplifies the part statements. They now call for the robot and say, hey, I have a battery recall. They throw the battery on. Now, not only are those steps saved, so is his back and his knees.
100%.
And again,
that's one of those things that we have difficulty. Like, I've had a couple of senior technicians on the show talking about what it's like after 15, 20 years. That's not a long time by any stretch of the imagination, because 20 years, you're kind of just breaking it in. But at 20 years, you're starting to feel it. Like, I've talked about this myself. Like, I've had 5 concussions. I've got steel in my elbow. I've got missing fingertips. I've got nerve issues in my right arm. I've got bad back knees. I've had both knees done. So
sounds
anything.
Like you played hockey.
Yes, that too. But those are the kinds of things that when you, irrespective of having a tool like this in the shop, having those kinds of tools for technicians means that it's going to have an easier day on them.
Correct.
And less stress, less anxiety, less burden on getting the actual job done. Right?
Correct.
So from a different standpoint, I can see technicians all over going, well, it doesn't work. The robot doesn't work. It's not gonna work in my shop. How do you, from a technical standpoint, overcome challenges in shops?
You gotta talk to him.
a lot of the times they're not receptive at all. They're like, it doesn't, on one gear, it doesn't work. You get out of the shop. But after about a couple of days of being there, they start getting used to it. They start seeing the use case. They start liking it. So it just takes time.
Okay. Now you're talking about mapping out where the robot goes in the shop. What about other technical challenges? So I liken it to like the McDonald's ice cream machine. It's always broken, right? So I can see technicians trying to place blame here, there, or whatever. How do you overcome those challenges? Is there something that you communicate to the service manager, the advisors, and the parts people to help them overcome those kinds of things?
Yeah, we usually have like a group-wide meeting with everybody that works there, just to like introduce them to the robot, show them where it's going to stop, how it's going to work, and if they have any questions, they ask them, they provide the answers. Usually within a couple of days, they're ready to go.
Awesome. And is that something you have to do on a regular basis? Is that something you do once during onboarding? How does that work?
It depends on the group. So sometimes you just need to do it once. Other times you got to do it a couple times and then they'll get it. But for the most part, it's one time.
Awesome. Okay. So, Stefan, when you're working with these folks, trying to understand them, get them to understand and get them educated and so forth, what do you have to do? Like maybe what's something that service managers say, well, it's not going to work, it's not going to improve our efficiency or whatever. What is some of the maybe the stats that you have?
So one of the biggest and most powerful stats that you can hit a dealer with is it's an average of $3.14 per minute for idle tech time. It's going to cost you as a dealer to have that tech standing around for that 20-minute conversation. It's $3.14 a minute. And when I always make sure that a service manager will come out and just sort of hang around and see what happens at parts. And after they've seen it and they've seen 2 or 3 techs take 10 or 15 minutes to get their parts, now remember that just cost you $31.40 for that 10-minute conversation.
Right.
So right now, one of our first
like the light comes on. One of the other big things that happens is we stay for 3 to 5 days, depending on the complexity.
And the number, I'm assuming, if you're putting 1 unit down, it's not necessarily as long as you're putting, say, 10.
Yeah. And you see that over time, that even the techs, especially like the senior store or senior techs, the way you attack them is that battery.
I don't miss carrying batteries. Let me tell you, it's been a while. I don't miss carrying batteries.
You never talk to a tech that's in their 40s or older that hasn't had some knee issues or shoulder issues. I mean, it's the nature. I came up through service. How do we stand 90% of the time? You know, with your back arched, you're trying to put all that weight onto your shoulders, and it does. It takes a toll on him.
Yeah. Awesome. So, from a different side of things, now that you've been here, we've been going for about 4 hours here today. What's something that you've learned at ASOTUCON that maybe a service manager that's going to watch this can take away from it?
That this show is filled with people that are here for technology, and you're seeing technology. The days of your whiteboard and moving, you don't need to do all that anymore. There's some wonderful technology here, and it's not your enemy. As much as you see a lot of these much older service directors and service managers, they don't want to change. And if you stop, changing, you stop improving, you're going to fall by the wayside.
Awesome. So don't fear innovation, which I think innovation has become the buzzword for this particular ASOTUCON 2025 show.
Taking over.
I think Claude said it really well this morning that AI is not going to replace people who use AI.
Well, it's the same with our robots. This is not here to replace people. Maybe a parts runner, but at the same time, a parts runner is almost impossible to find. Good one you're promoting anyway after a couple of weeks. And most of the time, I was on the phone with a dealer And he's going, well, yeah, where are they? And he's watching his things. He's sitting around back, smoking a cigarette, playing on the phone.
Yeah.
Carry up to 4 tires.
This just sits ready to go.
Now you have a reason to put, instead of hiring a parts owner, now you have a reason to hire an apprentice.
Correct. Which
we all need.
And again, we go back to that tech that's 45 or 50.
Right. So that needs some help. So not only are they going to get some help in something that's going to bring them parts, now they're going to get an apprentice that can actually help them with the job.
And the other big thing is it's one of the few products out there that pays for itself.
Well, thank you both. Enjoyed the show. Thank you for the tidbits. I appreciate everything you're doing. I'm glad I can see so many technicians back to me and save, so I appreciate that very much, because that relieves a whole lot of stress.
I appreciate you. Thank you so much.